This episode is brought to you by Heyday. Feeling stressed? Take a moment for yourself with Heyday. Stroll through rows of golden wheat, tend to cute barnyard animals, and discover the joys of a digital farm retreat. You don't have to hop in a car or catch a plane. Escape to the farm at the tap of a finger. With Heyday, you're not just tending to a farm, you're tending to yourself. Heyday. Search Heyday, that's Hay space DAY, in your favorite app store. Heyday is a free-to-play mobile game and offers optional in-app purchases and random rewards.
Welcome back to another edition of the Disney Dish Podcast with Jim Hill. It's me, Len Testa, and this is our show for the week of Schmurz Day, May 12th, 2025. On the show today, news in listener questions, a Disney Parks game show that every one of us would lose. Then in our main segment, Jim gives us the history of Disneyland's Light Magic Parade. Let's get started by bringing in the man who prefers the Irish hello, which is where you don't tell anyone that you're not coming. It's Mr. Jim Hill. Jim, how's it going?
It's going well, Len. And by the way, I have Irish hello'd many a Hill family party. You can absolutely count on me. I will definitely be there. And then I stay home and binge something on Disney Plus. By the way, I'm like 6 episodes behind on Andor season 2. So, speaking of Irish, so my dad, for most of the 89 years he was on the planet, labored under the misconception that the Hills as a family came from Ireland, the old sod. This came the direct result of my great-grandfather, Robert Hill, who was kind of cagey when it came to the Hill family past. It was only after you got him in his cups that he'd share wee bits of his origin story, which at least one version involved him racing up the gangplank of the boat to America just ahead of the local constabulary.
Whom among us, Jim, has not had to leave a country in a hurry?
There we go. Well, anyway, my dad leans into this whole the Hills are from Ireland thing. I mean, after he retires from teaching, my mom traveled there a couple times. We even have a photo of Mom being held upside down kissing the Blarney Stone. And
all right,
he buys the Irish walking cap and the cable-knit sweaters. I mean, I'm not saying he's walking around the house with a knife carving up bars of Irish Spring soap, but you get the idea, all right? And then 23andMe comes along and ruins everything.
I was going to say, he finds out he's Ukrainian or something.
Actually, we're not from Ireland. We're from Scotland, so we're adjacent. But on the other hand, this puts an item on my own personal bucket list, which is to embrace my inner Scrooge McDuck and learn how to swim in a money bin. So
there you go. Yeah,
I have hopes.
Did he when he discovers he's Scottish? Mm-hmm. Does he trade in the walking cap and the 4-leaf clovers and stuff like that for like stories about he once saw the Loch Ness monster?
No, but we have a rather frightening photo of my dad in a kilt, and he just did not have the legs for it.
Ooh.
I just was like,
that's a thing. That's
Dad, a full-length gown, please. Okay.
I'm thinking maxi dress here.
There we go.
Dad.
There we go.
All right. On to our subscribers. Thank you to everyone who subscribes to the show over at patreon.com/Jim Hill Media, including Adam Elmers, Spot Monkey, Sam Maricini, Jill LaPearl, Jack Casey Squid, and Patrick Agajanian. Jim, this is the new group of visiting professors at Epcot's Imagination Institute consulting on the ride's unbuilt labs for the human senses of touch and taste. Their research indicates that touching Figment should feel like a slightly warm cashmere sweater coming out of the dryer and taste like fizzy grape sherbet. True story.
All right. Who's licking dragons? I mean,
sounds like something the kids would do at Coachella.
Well, I was about to say, it's just, is that the stand next to the toad you licked? All right. Anyway, moving on.
See, we went to the same place.
There we go. Right. Okay.
On to the news. The Disney Dish News is sponsored by DVC Rental Store. Have you ever dreamed about staying in deluxe accommodations at Disney for a fraction of the cost? If so, the DVC Rental Store connects guests with incredible savings on Disney Vacation Club resorts. Whether you're a DVC member looking to rent your points or a guest who's looking to stay in style, the DVC Rental Store offers a seamless process for both. They also offer exciting point swaps for unforgettable experiences like cruises and adventures. And don't forget, they're running a limited time promotion where they're now offering the lowest prices of the year. So please check them out at dvcrentalstore.com/DisneyDish. All right, Jim, let's start with Universal Orlando in the news. We're 10 days out from the official opening of Epic Universe. My best guess here is that first week attendance is capped at around 17,000 guests. And for reference, I think the previews are probably running around 13,000 guests. And here's where I'm going with this. Ministry of Magic, Universal announced, is going to be down during the preview period from May 10th to May 16th. I am told that this is to address reliability and capacity issues. And Jim, there's still a lot of other downtime at rides. So we've said on this show before, there's two big concerns, right? Ride reliability and ride capacity. And speaking of capacity, there were some groups that got previews, this last week, including, one-on-one time with management. One of the questions that came up was, what does this park do when there's thunderstorms in the area? Fair question, right? Because I don't know if you know this, Jim, but it rains in Florida on a fairly regular basis.
I am shocked. Shocked. Okay.
Shocked to hear that.
There we go.
Yeah. So what happens if there's lightning in the area? So apparently there are 3 rides and 2 shows that can operate in the rain. Those 3 rides are Mario Kart, Monsters, and Ministry. I know Monsters is supposed to handle a bit over 2,000 guests an hour. We've counted the number of people leaving the ride every hour, and it hasn't gone above 1,500. So there might be more work to be done there around capacity. Mario Kart's around 1,600 people an hour. Ministry might be 1,800 if everything goes right. And then the 2 shows are Circus Akanu at 1,100 an hour, roughly. And then How to Train Your Dragon is roughly 1,900 an hour. So that's 7,900 guests per hour in capacity when there's lightning outside, if everything is running well. Okay. Let's make an assumption that somewhere between 30 and 60% of park guests are in line or on a ride. That puts park capacity at 13,600 to 26,300 when it's lightning, and 17,000, which is what they're going to launch with, is sort of the middle of that. So that's fine.
Okay.
What happens in a year when there's 30,000 people in the park and it starts to lightning? What are we doing for ride capacity then?
Well, if we go back to what they did for Islands Adventure.
Yeah.
Again, remember that opened 99, and then in 2000, 2001, we saw, they went off the shelf. They went with Flying Unicorn in Lost Continent, and then I want to say they added that storm-themed flat ride, the Spinner, over in, but in both cases, I mean, I think Storm, which had a roof on it, could potentially operate in the rain, whereas Flying Unicorn had the shutdown in the rain. So,
right.
And we know there's a couple of expansion pads in this park but at the same time, you're moving to add additional capacity quickly. Chances are you're not building something inside of a building. So,
Yeah, so let me just say, we have to give Universal credit for getting to this point.
Yep.
Right. We're now 10 days out from the opening of Epic Universe. They have spent billions of dollars. People have invested years of their lives in getting this done. And that's a huge accomplishment. Like I said, I love the park. I think it has tremendous potential, right? These issues have to be worked out.
They
right?
do.
And,
they do.
Yeah, and they do. I mean, you're gonna charge people full price. They deserve a full price experience. There's no debating that. But Jim, I was talking to somebody about this, and here's my question. Did Universal just build Epic California Adventure 1.0, where we made all of the best assumptions that we could. We did all the work we could. And then we opened it and we realized we need a second phase to go back and redo some things. That's my question. Again, I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong, right? Getting to this point is a monumental achievement, and I love the park. But given what we're seeing around capacity, and especially around things like, weather, which again, it rains every afternoon in Florida during the summer, right? Should we already be building those expansion pads out?
That is an interesting question. And I guess the only caveat to the California Adventure 2.0 suggestion is, remember, we are talking about the Universal Orlando Resort. This is, they like to say it's park number 4. Well, let's be honest here. Park number 3 and the water park. So
that's fair.
It's not like with Disneyland. And that's the other thing. Remember that was the thing that kind of bit California Adventure in the butt, is that it had been built right across Disneyland Plaza from classic Disneyland. And it's like, at that point, there were, 60 rides, and the park had existed for almost 45 years. And it was tougher it's like, I want what's over there.
Yeah.
So, but you're not wrong. I mean, it has opened on the low side of capacity, but on the other hand, when you look at the size and the scale and the ambition of this park, it's kind of a balancing act.
No, like I said, I love everything that they've done. I think the park in time will be fantastic. The everything that I've seen about it is really, really good. I think at this point, if they could make other decisions, they would have added at least one more standard big ride, or one or two more big dark rides.
But again, it's the old themed entertainment cliche that you can't build your church for Easter morning. No,
yeah, exactly, yeah, and that's the other point that I was making to some friends who were there this last week. Like, we just did a show that went back and looked at the early days of Disney MGM Studios, and there wasn't a Sunset Boulevard.
Oh no.
Likewise, I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but when Animal Kingdom opened, Asia wasn't open, was it?
No. That was a construction site.
Right. All right. So there's tons of precedents here, right? I'm not saying Universal did anything wrong because, again, love the park. But at this point, I would like to hear very soon after opening what that expansion plan is like, because I think, as we said on the show before, everything that we've seen is good enough that they should start the expansion anyway, just to get more people in the park to see how good it is. But I think with the additional impetus, if you will, of we need more capacity, especially in the rain, I think that's the big driver there. So hopefully we'll see.
Yep, it'll be interesting to see over the next couple of months. But just one other caveat. Remember that we have Universal Horror Unleashed opening in Vegas this summer. We have the Universal Kids Park in Frisco. I know Universal Creative is staffing up, but that was originally supposed to be for the UK thing. So, going to be interesting.
Yeah. I imagine the job postings for Universal Creative these days include the phrase dynamic high output environment. Right?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. All right. And Jim, over in Walt Disney World, we got some news on the new Beak and Barrel Tavern in Adventureland, which is going to have a 2-drink maximum and a 45-minute maximum, kind of like Oga's Cantina, to ensure that there's enough capacity for everyone to get in.
I'm sorry. I just suddenly have a vision of what's her name? Red?
Red.
Okay. Yeah. You're 45 minutes and she, sidles up to you. We got to pulling out a sword and say, well, you can have a great time, but you can't stay here.
Exactly. Who wants the rum? Not you. The people coming in do. Exactly. On to listener questions. This one's from Greg Lem, who says, will the drop in shipping from China affect Disney's fireworks shows? And let me just say, Greg, that in doing the research for this particular question, I am positive I am now on some sort of FBI list. Because once you start Googling questions like, how do you make gunpowder? And who makes gunpowder? I am sure my search history is going to show up on a warrant at some point. Anyway, China makes the vast majority of the world's fireworks. I'm guessing like 80% of the market. But Europe and even the United States has some manufacturing capabilities. So Disney's got some options. And I think they've got, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong here, multiple on-site and off-site storage facilities for that pyro, right?
Absolutely. I mean, they've got...
Isn't one over by the airport?
Well, there used to be.
Okay.
Disney has since moved its bunkers on property. In fact, I want to say there's that fire station out behind the perimeter road at the Magic Kingdom. And I want to say in a frankly, a brilliant bit of planning, it's like the fireworks bunkers are out behind the fire station.
Yeah.
Behind the fence. So it's like, if something were to ever happen, it's like, hey, coincidentally, we have the equipment right here.
we're like 15 feet away. It's fine. Yeah.
Just that said, Disney is as a company, is the largest. I want to say only the United States government does purchase more things that involve black powder. So they have a lot of storage facility out there, but they also have a lot of shows that they do. And so
that's the big question. So I mean, Disney definitely could purchase months worth of fireworks. The big question would be, can you build a safe storage facility for that much fireworks? My guess is they're probably not sized for stuff like that. So the big questions would be, if they wanted to go to Europe or even the United States, it's not necessarily around, do they have manufacturing capability? They do. It's more around, do they have the capacity given the work they're already doing? And then does China still have to supply the raw chemicals anyway, like nitrocellulose, right? Like, I suspect Disney's got a list of companies that can call for these things. It's generally got, a main supplier, then a backup supplier, and it probably periodically refreshes that to go 2 and 3 deep. But yeah, the big question for me would be, can we even get the raw chemicals?
Yeah. And remember, also, this is the Walt Disney Company that has been leaning in the direction of drone shows, and at least experimenting in Florida. And who knows, this might be, forgive the euphemism here, the gun to the head. All right, maybe it's time we actually changed over.
I'm thinking that in the event that things go bad, we end up with one of those like silent disco things where everyone gets headphones, right? And then for fireworks, they just tell you to rub your eyes really, really hard while the music is going.
Okay.
Right. Here's a question for you, Jim, from Derek, who says, what are the chances we get a Harryhausen's sushi restaurant in Monsters, Inc. land? And Jim, I mentioned this because Mama Melrose is closed this past Saturday, May 10th.
Yeah. In fact, the fact that this is such a high priority. I mean, they started early deliberately because they believe this will be destination dining. So, if anything, if you look at the art, in fact, it's Mr. Schul that looked closely at that, and it's like, wow, they are expanding that restaurant. So, even bigger footprint to give more guests that authentic Monsters Inc. sushi prepared by an octopus experience. So,
I think Harryhausen's is a given. Like, if that's not it, I don't know what they're going to do.
Oh, no. It absolutely. I mean, if you think about what's available on property, what's available inside of that park, I mean, it's literally a no-brainer.
The only hesitation I have there is that a lot of people don't eat fish. So it might be a Japanese restaurant. Or Pan-Asian with some sushi. So we'll see. Okay. But yeah, I think that's the gimme right here. Has to be it. All right. Here's a letter from Dan McNeely, who says, I recently rode Ministry of Magic and was chatting with a wizard afterwards. She said, the Sphere in Las Vegas has the world's largest LCD screen, but the second, third, and fourth largest screens are all inside the Ministry of Magic. After experiencing the attraction, it makes sense. The attraction doesn't just raise the bar, it levitates it. It truly feels like you're flying through the Ministry in a magical lift, and I can't wait for y'all to experience it and share your thoughts on the show. Yeah, me too. I can't wait, Daniel. That sounds great.
Cool.
Here's one from Scott Egan, who says, as a former cast member who worked at Muppet Vision 3D, I love Greg's suggestion on last week's show for a Muppets themed bar. Hear me out. Have Stadler and Waldorf behind a curtain in a raised balcony, just like the attraction. At certain times, the curtain opens, allowing them to engage guests or cast members. Think of it like Turtle Talk with Crush or the Adventurers Club. The characters come to life and engage guests, cast control from behind the scenes, with full interaction and fun.
I love that, like the Colonel in the main room of the Adventurers.
Love it.
Yeah. Oh God, send the check to Scott.
Yes. Can we get a large statue in the middle of the bar, and it's Fozzie Bear in the Poseidon statue from Adventurers Club, where he's like naked from the waist down, trying to cast a rod. But it's Fozzie Bear. Yeah, we should do that.
Okay.
We can build this. I'm convinced.
Okay.
Speaking of the Muppets bar, Doug Gazelle writes in with this. To take it a step further, what about incorporating the Muppets into Tower of Terror? Disney currently licenses the Twilight Zone name, and we know how much they like money. Instead of paying for that license, why not use their own IP, the Muppets, into a haunted happiness hotel? Then we'll have a whole Muppets-themed land with 2 e-tickets and a show, finally giving the Muppets the respect they deserve.
I think
sometimes, Jim, we can actually Imagineer just as well as anyone.
And the weird little bend on this story is I can tell you from back in the early days of when Disney acquired the Muppets back in 2024, I got a meeting with Chris Curtin, who was in charge of Muppet Holding Company at that point, and he literally laid out in front of me the projects they were working on, and one of the things they were working on was a movie called the Muppet Haunted House, which was different from the Muppet Haunted Mansion thing they did for Disney Plus just a year or so ago. But there's IP down in the pile that they could tap into to do this. Though that said, I don't know if you saw this bubbling up through social media just in the past day or so, but they were recruiting cast members to take part in, I think it was described as a Muppet Vision archival filming.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. Go ahead, explain it, and then I'll tell you why I thought it was interesting.
Well, it just, the notion is that they were looking for cast members to take part in this thing, I guess that would be done after hours. And the notion is to film Muppet Vision with a full audience. So they'd have a record of what it was like to be inside of that theater in the audience, in a full audience, as this show went on around you, and to document it.
Yeah, that's the part that I thought was the most interesting, because they obviously have the original film.
They do.
But here they wanted to film the experience of watching Muppet Vision, which is different.
Yeah.
That tells me that they've got plans somewhere, probably vague plans at this point, but plans somewhere for something, right?
I agree. Just the notion of let's get this documented before the change out. So give them credit for at least doing that.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea, and it's good to have the memories preserved for that. They could do a ton of stuff with it later on. Finally, Stephanie Fritz set in an Instagram story, Jim, with this really interesting reality game show proposal. And here it is. Someone who's never been to Walt Disney World before is in charge of planning the whole trip. Contestants are eliminated if they try and help in any way.
Oh.
Okay. Jim, with my luck, okay, first of all, I'd be out in 15 minutes, but with my luck, I would be on the show with someone's great-grandpa for their once-in-a-lifetime trip, like the Golden Bachelor, but for theme parks. And I would be the one saying, yo, Montgomery Burns, we're not rope dropping? Let me tell you, at your age, these are your golden months, not your golden years. Let's get up and get out the door, right? Like, that would be me, right?
Yeah,
you've got the life expectancy of a ripe banana. What are we doing in the hotel at 9 a.m.?
There we go.
I could not.
You would make through the first 15 minutes of the first episode, but
no. I would be the one where people would like when you're watching the Great British Baking Show, and they bring in all the original contestants. And you start picking like who's going first.
Oh yeah,
it would just be me. Like everyone would pick me.
There we go.
That show would have to be sponsored by some sort of horse tranquilizer for me to get through it. Like they would have to be handing out samples.
Yep.
Anyway. And I know nobody listening to this show would last any longer than me. I don't know what they would do for episode 2. It'd be like, well, we're out of people.
There we go.
Anyway. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Jim gives us the history of Disneyland's Light Magic Parade. We'll be right back.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue, subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
And we're back. All right, Jim. We talked about this episode topic because the Magic Kingdom is getting a new nighttime parade soon.
It is. And we can only hope that this new parade coming to the Magic Kingdom has an easier time than Light Magic, because, in fact, this show posts on May 13th, 2025, and May 13th, 1997. Is a night that Disneyland annual pass holders still talk about, because there were tens of thousands of them, Len, that paid $25 a piece to be on hand, whereas that theme park, as they got to see what that the Disney company had been promoting for months as Disney's newest nighttime extravaganza, and given that just 5 years previous, Len, Fantasmic had debuted. In fact, it debuted on May 13th, 1992. And had gone on to be this hugely popular entertainment. So there were a lot of people who's like, ooh, I based on that, I want to be among the first to see Light Magic. And and also, let's remember that this was the thing that was supposed to replace the Main Street Electrical Parade, which a number of people today have probably forgotten that, summer of 96, they made a very big deal about it's the farewell season for the Main Street. In fact, as you drove around Southern California that summer, you saw these giant billboards that literally had this phrase on them: "See it before it glows away forever." Yeah, the Electrical Parade has had more final runs than The Who. Okay. Well, yeah. But anyway, a hugely successful promotional play. Record crowds came out to the park all that summer. In fact, it did so well, Len. They had previously announced that the Electrical Parade would do its final run through the park on October 13th, 1996. They wound up extending it till November 25th. And even then, Len, it was like, they would have kept it running. I've talked with members of the entertainment team, but they were like, you don't get it. Again, November 25th is literally the last day before we have to shift to Christmas at Disneyland. Oh, right. Yeah. We're right up against Thanksgiving. And frankly, a lot of people come to Disneyland for the Christmas parade. And in fact, they had just debuted the new Christmas parade, a Christmas fantasy, the year previous, in 1995. So it's like, no, we paid for this thing. Yeah. We got to put it in the park. But anyway, as folks are leaving Disneyland, summer of 96, as they walk under the train station, they pass under this marquee for Light Magic, which, here's the thing, Len, Light Magic, what they said it was not a parade. It was a spectacular journey. That is so beautifully vague. Well, no, that's it exactly. It's like, I can't believe it's not butter, but for parades. No, but is it a parade? There we go. It's a spectacular journey. Are there floats? It is a journey. Will there be like, a line of people coming down Main Street? It's going to be spectacular. Yeah. Well, the vagueness of that language confused folks. So by the way, I want to share this with you. I found this on eBay a bunch of years ago, but so many people were asking questions about it. So the summer of 97, if you were a Disneyland cast member and you came through the Harbor House gate and then would pick up your costume for your shift, you were handed a card that Disneyland's guest communication department had prepared because they figured at some point during the day, someone's going to ask you a question about, well, what's this light magic thing?
Yeah.
Fair. And this is what the card says, Len.
Oh my
it's
God,
like,
go
first
ahead.
and foremost, light magic is not a parade, but rather is a brand new kind of entertainment being offered here at Disneyland that we are calling a street-tacular.
We're going to substitute one undefined word with another undefined word and hope that you are satisfied. Go ahead.
Okay, but now what's different about a street-tacular is, unlike a parade, well, you can't stand in one location along the parade route and then have all of the various units roll by you and enjoy yourself. Light magic, which is a 20-minute long entertainment, is something that will be presented on 4 identical 55,000-pound rolling stages, each of which, Len, are 80 feet long and 25 feet tall.
An 80-foot stage that rolls.
Oh, wait, it gets better. There are only going to be 2 places in the park where you can actually watch light magic as it is intended to be consumed.
Okay.
One of them is the newly constructed Small World Plaza.
Okay.
This is that wide open space we know today between it's a Small World and Matterhorn Mountain, with the Fantasyland stage to our west, and what was formerly the motorboat cruise, and I want to say also now it's formerly the smoking area in Disneyland, used to be over there. Now, as for the show itself, and again, people, all right, this thing that's not a parade, what is it about? And this is the show description, again, that the guest communications department gave to cast members to share with guests. It's like, light magic is about the power of dreams. And the Disney characters are awakened by enchanted pixies, who then take them on a spectacular journey to a place where dreams come true, teaching us all that the dreams of today are the magic of tomorrow, which leads me to believe that there was at least one would-be motivational speaker working in guest communications during the summer of 97.
I just want to point out here, there are exactly 2 sentences in that show description, but yet 3 uses of the word dreams. Yeah. All right. You know what? It's up with people, but in Disney World. Okay, fine. All right, go ahead.
But now this little card goes on to say that Light Magic is one of the most technically advanced shows to ever be presented at a Disney theme park. Okay. The tech side of each of these rolling stages, Len, is powered by 23 different computers.
23?
23,
right.
Which all have to sync up.
Okay.
And they have to do things like at a specific moment in this 20-minute long show, a retractable screen rises out of the floor so that a special film, which has been created exclusively for Light Magic by the special projects team of Walt Disney Feature Animation Florida.
Oh.
Also, the Street-tacular will have one of the largest casts ever assembled for a Disney theme park show. We are talking 32 classic Disney characters, all dressed in pajamas, Len.
Yeah, because they dreams. Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Yeah, because again, they were awakened by the Pixies. Tinkerbell and her pixie pals, and then taken on the spectacular journey. And these 32 classic characters will then be accompanied by 64 cast members dressed as Pixies, who, by the way, Len, to further muddy the entertainment waters here, at some point they all break into Irish step dance.
Really? Oh
yes.
My God. How did this fail? Oh my God, this sounds like so much fun. Go ahead.
All right. So picture this. We're now back, May 13th, 1997, where Paul Pressler, who was the then president of the Disneyland Resort, he steps up to the podium at this hard ticket event where tens of thousands of annual pass holders have paid money and traveled to the park so they can be among the first to see Light Magic.
All right.
And
paying customers. So paying customers is
paying customers. Okay. So Pressler now addresses the public and says, you're in for a real treat, folks. I mean, we don't normally do this, but because you're special and among Disneyland's most loyal fans, well, you're not here for the first public performance of Light Magic, but rather you're here for the first dress rehearsal of Disneyland's new
We're not ready yet.
No, that's it exactly.
How?
Oh, God. This thing is so technologically advanced that the Light Magic team hasn't actually made it through a full performance yet.
Wow. Oh, that has all of the makings of an entertainment spectacular.
Yes, it does, and we will get to the details in a moment. But first, this.
The new McCrispy Strip is here. Dip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry, Big Mac sauce, double dipped in buffalo and ranch, more ranch, and creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Out here, there's no one way of doing things. No unwritten rules. And no shortage of adventure. Because out here, the only requirement is having fun. Bank of America invites kids 6 to 18 to golf with us. For a limited time, sign them up for a free 1-year membership, giving them access to discounted tee times at thousands of courses. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/golf with us. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Restrictions apply. See BofA.com/golf with us for complete details. Copyright 2025 Bank of America Corporation.
This message is brought to you by Abercrombie Kids, where the activewear is made for every summer activity, so your mini-me can bring their personal best. Summer days are always an adventure, from day camp to rec leagues and pool days. Abercrombie Kids has the shorts, tees, and swim to keep them comfy and keep up with them. Get everything for the entire summer at Abercrombie Kids. Shop in-store, online, or in the app.
And we're back.
All right, so Jim, we have tens of thousands of annual pass holders who paid $25 a pop in 1997 money for what amounts to a dress rehearsal of a parade that has never been performed in its entirety before. Oh, God, this is amazing. Go ahead.
Now, I have to be careful here, Len, because I promised you we would tell this whole story in a single installment, but the story of Disneyland's short-lived street-tacular is so wild, so juicy. This could be our next 7-part saga, a la Lakeside Lodge, if I'm not careful. All right. And let's be honest, nobody wants that.
All right.
But this story also dates back to when I first started writing almost exclusively for the web about Disney. In fact, Light Magic, so publicly flaming out, was actually what fueled the rise of Al Lutz, who was the guy who behind so many of the early Disney fan sites. I mean, Disneyland Information Guide, Mouse Planet, Mice Age. Want to mention here, we lost Al in July of last year after a prolonged illness, and he and I had a complicated history, but since he was the guy who first invited me to begin writing online about the Disney company, well, truth be told, it was Aldis's mom, my ex, Michelle Valladolid, who on Al's behalf reached out to me. But anyway, long story short, still appreciate the opportunity I was given to get in on the ground floor of online Disney fandom. There's so few of us dinosaurs left at this point. But anyway, Al rose to prominence in the summer of 97 because he had a front row seat for this going bad. He was there on the night of May 13th. Again, all these annual pass holders who paid for the public performance, as you mentioned, were there for the dress rehearsal. And so what didn't go right? Well, let's start with those 4 80-foot long 24-foot high rolling stages, which again have a retractable screen. Okay. So they can show that movie. But the projectors are off to the side. Down on Main Street, they're hidden up in the roofs of the buildings there.
Oh, the projectors aren't on the floats.
No.
So the floats have to be very precisely...
There we go. Thank you, Len. And on opening night, they could not get the parade floats, the rolling stages in the right places. So picture this: the floats roll in from backstage behind Small World, and then they literally spent 20 minutes jockeying back and forth, like, hang on, the computer tells us we need to move a quarter of an inch forward.
It's like watching me trying to parallel park. It's like I got this. Just give me one more try. Okay, yeah, all right.
But this entire time, all the park could do is play the pre-arrival announcement and the intro music. And so it's over and over again. A spectacular journey and featuring the classic Disney characters. Finally, all right, we're close enough. Start the show.
Sure.
All right, so Light Magic begins. Disney characters in pajamas emerge.
Okay.
Annual pass holders love this.
Okay.
But then come the Pixies.
These are the cast members, right? The 64 cast members. Okay.
Yes. And by the way, some of the very best veteran performers of Disneyland Entertainment.
Okay.
The A team was on this show.
Okay.
However, because again, these are supposed to be pixies, not human beings, a decision was made early on in the show that to make sure they look like pixies, everybody had flesh-colored half masks from like the mouth up of like sort of beetle brows and little bent noses and that sort of thing. All right.
Okay.
But this is the thing. The conceit of the show is that these 64 cast members come off the parade and then interact with the children along the parade route.
Oh, so they've got unusual masks. It's night. And
That's
you've got groups of people running up to small children. Yeah, what could possibly go wrong with this?
As I understand it, there was a lot of screaming.
You can imagine, yeah. Okay, all right.
Okay, but wait, you with your tech history, you're going to love this particular part of it. The thing that the Pixies, in fact, their whole interaction with the children is supposed to every single one of the people who are playing Pixies as part of their costume has this pouch that's full of tiny little pieces of shredded mylar. And the idea is that they grab a child and say, well, what is your wish? And okay, let's make a wish with pixie dust.
Okay. At least it's not glitter. Okay, go ahead. All right.
All right, but here's the thing. And this doesn't really become an issue till after the show is over, but the crowd disperses. But for 20 minutes, there have been cast members throwing Mylar up in the air.
Oh, and
now
Mylar's conductive, isn't it?
And highly reflective.
And highly reflective. Yeah. Okay.
All right. And so these people now track Mylar into every ride, show, and attraction.
Oh, right. It's stuck on their shoes. Yeah.
And which, remember, a lot of infrared sensors, doors that open automatically.
Oh, yeah.
And suddenly, rides and shows all over the park start malfunctioning. And by the way, it takes them weeks to figure this out. That why is this happening? And it's like, oh, well, yeah, they're using Mylar over in Light Magic. And
oh my! So how do they even pick that up? Because that's everywhere.
It took months of aggressive vacuuming of every single surface in the park.
Disneyland's calling like Walmart and going, hey, you guys stock lint rollers, right?
All right. But anyway, it finally finishes its debut on Small World Plaza. It rolls down to Main Street where they have the same issue. That takes them a while to get in the right position, but they begin doing the show again down on Main Street. And remember, the 80-foot-long rolling stages, by the way, these things are equipped with 1,500 strobe lights, 132 robotic lights, as well as 4,500 miles of fiber optics.
Wow.
And yet the annual pass holders...
It's bright.
Well, no, that's the thing, Lynn. They're all sort of, everyone along the parade route is kind of leaning in like, why is this so dark? Why is this so dim?
But how would something with that many lights be dim?
Well, they hadn't actually finished installing.
Oh, we ordered 1,500 strobe lights, but okay, all right.
Yeah, okay. And they had come, again, this is the first dress rehearsal. We'll have it ready for the actual debut in a week to 10 days. And,
right.
and by the way, there is precedent for this, Len. I mean, you know the stories about when the original Main Street Electrical Parade debuted at Disneyland back in June of 72. There's these great stories about the technicians literally leaping off of the floats as they roll on stage because they were still assembling them out ahead of the parade. Plug in the battery. So,
but still, I mean, this is in front of paying customers.
And more to the point, that was also 1972. There was no internet.
Right, yeah.
And this was the thing, that as soon as this dress rehearsal ended, hundreds of people got online at City Hall and angrily demanded their money back.
Sure.
And what was especially infuriating for a lot of folks at that event is the street-tacular. Wasn't ready for prime time, but in 6 different locations around the resort, the entire full-on Light Magic retail program was up. In fact, the thing I remember particularly, one friend reaching out, he said, the thing that absolutely infuriated him is he stood there staring into the darkness at the not working fiber optics on the parade float, and yet he could walk into the Emporium and buy the $100 Letterman's jacket that, by the way, was made exclusively for the premiere night event for annual pass holders. And the fiber optics in the back of that thing, that worked like gangbusters.
Yeah, that on a jacket. We could put fiber optics in a jacket, but God forbid on a parade float. Oh my God, that's funny.
Oh, and by the way, one of the other things that bit them in the butt is that one of the things you could buy at the Light Magic merch displays was your very own bottle of cut up Mylar. And in fact, that was the thing. Even months after Disney had done the aggressive clean and vacuumed everywhere in the park to try to get the Mylar, suddenly a ride would go down because somebody had brought their bottle of official Light Magic Pixie dust back into the park and had been spreading it around.
Oh, yeah. That's like, Disneyland doesn't have gum for sale in the parks, and now it's probably banned Mylar. Wow. Yeah. Amazing. They're probably still finding that to this day.
They probably are. But obviously, again, on the heels of this annual pass holder special event, dress rehearsal, a lot of work needed to be done on Light Magic. But what complicated this situation, Len, is, summer of 97, Disneyland had 2 parades. I mean, again, Light Magic is a street-tacular, but during the day, they also had the Hercules Victory Parade.
Oh, right.
And that debuted June of this year, in fact, on the exact same day that Hercules went into theaters. And so here are the people who are just up against it. Trying to get Light Magic up and running, and they turn to the Hercules Victory Parade team and is like, please, God, help us, send some techs over. Can we borrow some of your people? We just need to get the parade fixed. And it was the studio that said no.
Nope. Yeah.
No, it's like, we are not taking our people away from our parade to go fix your street-tacular. Okay. So anyway, very tough summer for Disneyland's entertainment team. They did everything that they could to turn Light Magic around. I mean, first and foremost, got rid of the scary half mask and the Pixies.
Yeah, step 1, stop scaring the children, right?
Okay. Right. Then get rid of the Mylar, get the lights working. And at the same time, reverting back to this info card, when people started complaining about the parade, it's like, all right, we acknowledge that the Main Street Electrical Parade is a treasured part of Disneyland's history, but we always strive to move forward and present our guests with exciting new shows and attractions that showcase the latest in state-of-the-art entertainment technology. And so that they were trying to sell people on that idea. But in the end, at the end of the summer, Len, last performance of Light Magic was September 1st, 1997. It was then announced that Light Magic would be going on a temporary hiatus and would return in a significally revamped form in the summer of 2000.
3 years later?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, okay. It'll come back one day. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, but here's the thing. Mind you, the park said the very same thing about the rocket rods. Which,
they're coming. Yeah, any day now, Jim. Any day.
Yeah, those debuted summer of 1998 as part of the new Tomorrowland for that park. And interesting thing is, they closed temporarily in September of 2000, which again was when Light Magic was supposed to have been up and running again. But let's be honest here, in Disneyland speak, Len, rocket rods, along with Light Magic, had been sent to go live at a farm upstate. We had lots of room to play and run and enjoy all that fresh air.
Yeah, the grass is green. Oh, so much fun, yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, to bring this to a close, that's my one-part explanation of why Light Magic only lasted one summer, and it's so much bigger a story, Len. I mean, there are the parades that they almost did ahead of Light Magic. In fact, the one that always has fascinated me was Light Keepers. And the idea was that this parade literally started off with a full-sized UFO appearing over Disneyland, appearing to park backstage, and then the doors kicked open and all of these friendly aliens then proceeded to parade through the park.
100% yes, let's do it.
And then there was the reason that this show, Light Magic, was themed around Tinkerbell. And it turns out, interesting stat back then, Tinkerbell merch was second only to Mickey Mouse merch in sales at Disneyland.
Really?
The notion was we should be doing more with this character. But so anyway, long story short, maybe over on our Patreon project, Disney Impact, we should look at doing something of size on Light Magic, because there are so many more stories. And over the years, so many people who worked on that project have come forward with, you heard it was bad. Wait till you hear about this.
My therapist said I need to get this off my chest. Let me press
there
record.
We go.
I listened to the parade soundtrack as part of the research for today's show, and that's a good little soundtrack. There's nothing wrong with it.
No, there are so many. That's Bruce Healy's work. He did amazing. And in fact, tell me when you listened to that, when you heard about the Irish step dancing. Well, of course there was Irish step dancing.
Of course, there's Irish step dancing. Exactly. I can practically feel Michael Flatley on this.
No, his attorneys are on line one right now.
Exactly.
But no, so many hugely talented people worked on this project. But it was one of these things where on paper it should have worked.
Yeah.
On paper it should have been a huge success. But you just cannot list the number of ways this went south.
That's a shame, but it sounds like we have a bunch of great stories on it. So yeah, let's do something on Unpacked.
Okay. All right. I will get to work.
Fantastic. All right, folks, that's going to do it for the show today. You can help support our show by subscribing over at patreon.com/JimHillMedia, where we're posting exclusive shows every week. Our latest show with Imagineer Jim Scholl looks at how Disney's used the Monsters, Inc. franchise in its theme parks. On next week's show, Jim gives us the history of Epcot's Mission Space attraction, and I meet some astronauts. You can find more of Jim at JimHillMedia.com and more of me, Len, at TouringPlans.com. We're produced spectacularly by Eric Hersey and David Gray, who'll be showing off their collection of rare gemstones, including Hiddenite and Red Beryl, at the 2025 Boise Gem Festival, starting on Friday, June 6th and running through the weekend. That's at Expo, Idaho, and North Glenwood Street in beautiful downtown Boise, Idaho. While Eric and David are doing that, please go onto iTunes and rate our show and tell us what you'd like to hear next. For Jim, this is Len. We will see you on the next show.
Of starlight.